Hello, everyone. Welcome to TEGS conference meeting session today. We are just waiting for our uh, group members to join us. I don't know whether they'll be able to join us today. Uh, Hope so. Otherwise, we'll continue next week. But I just want to summarize and just put that we are planning 2023 to 2024, our ongoing project to continue and also to launch more global aspects with uh, you know the Hawaii conference meeting that we are planning now. It's in the planning stage. Uh, I think it's feasible, but only thing is you need to have financing, things like that, aspects and the logistic aspects. We have to work it out, and then hope that that will launch the World University sometime in a few years. From 2024 onwards, we have more uh, you know, detailed aspects and also robust way of achieving that. So we know it's all different places internationally. Uh, so we'll start, for example, the North Pole. That's what our plan is. And after Hawaii, you will have every year different places, North Pole, uh, and then South Pole and different places, Europe, and also Asia, continent, Australia. So all the different continents will have every year different locations. Also, we'll be studying about Earth survivability and global warming type of thing, uh, how that is going to impact the ongoing things, and also launch some space programs in collaboration. So these are the long-term uh, agenda that we hope that many of them will become feasible uh, within starting from next year. Uh, and then we'll get over some of the initial problems that we have. Our primary area and these text sessions that other presenters also will be joining us soon, either this month or next month, and definitely by 2024 we'll have more uh, complete unification aspects. I myself have studied the unification. I think the gist I can say is entropic entity within energetic environment. So what does entity, for example, could be a particle, and the particle, Gerd and Christopher Christian and Emmanouil, everybody has talked about hypersphere aspects and the electron, for example, electron particles, and also photon. The electrons and photons are combined together. They are also fermionic and bosonic. They have certain features, geometry features that may tell us why that difference comes about. So this is an ongoing, very intense research that's going on, uh, and we believe that the hypersphere, and I have, identified geometry of space and topology of time, and the geometry of space. Then, in the case of this particle, like the particle horizon that Gerd is talking about, has certain curvature. That's how it's determined that Einstein, Uchi tensor, the relativity aspects, emphasizes that. So I think that, in that sense, we can utilize the mathematics of the Einstein Gaussian, uh, I would call the shape transforms of the space time. The space and time are together, right, because transformations, and that's because dynamically the space is evolving in time. So they are combined together, and this evolution is, I believe, is a mechanism that we identified, it's subquantum uh, mechanism. called hot PDP mechanism. That's within a phase called a superluminal phase, which is the ultimate thing. That's a partner, and it has monopolar fluctuations in them. So they appear dark because they don't have, proper field setup, the magnetic field or the changing magnetic field according to Maxwell equation that can create electric field. And I think electric field is very related real universe. So the electric and magnetic field interaction creates electromagnetic aspects of light and sound, which is we call photons and phonons. And there's intense research going on in Switzerland about the phonons themselves. And that's another aspect that we are concentrating on. So there may be photon connection that we have not established yet. So the vibrations that form the key aspect of real matter, photons, that's created in the vacuum, have some interaction. So that interaction is the multi-phase aspect that Manuel, myself, especially promoting, and others, Christine, Christopher, and Gerd, and I'm working with Manuel Malaver as well as Emily Taylor on the experiment physics, and Manuel Malaver on the astrophysics. Also Wenzhong Zhang of the universe, and also John Hodge, who was talking about the hot planet Jackson. I think everything is coming together in a sense to describe what really is. So I myself developed a general transform which talks about the whole universe as I said, black box, and black box is a specific case of this black box aspect. So we are, it's all part of the black box, but we are, putting together or Gerd's detailed metric universe books that describe that we are probably living in a black box, a super massive black box. So the whole universe is that. But the black box is even further than that. It includes everything. It's all in comparison. So when we are looking at something, so we are inside black hole, and how are we looking out? Digital space or analytic space is another aspect that's being considered. So in any case, the idea of a particular horizon evolved from that, and that is definitely curvature because of the shape, like a hypersphere, and that curvature can be described by Ritchie tensor. But according to Christopher, that can be projected on a tangential plane, and that tangential plane you have the speed of light constant. Most likely that's the vacuum phase, right? So the vacuum phase is in between the superluminal phase and the subluminal space, where we live in subluminal space, where it's less than the speed of light, the maximum speed of light. The particles cannot exceed the speed of light. But in vacuum, that's held constant. But at superluminal level, there is no such restriction. So it could be faster speed of light, and there is nothing restricting it until we have the mechanism of the we live in randomly, probabilistically at different locations, and that eventually creates, the particle from the unparticle assembly of north-south monopoles and the p-electron and the positron unparticles. So they are not they are partons. They are electron-like or positron-like in the PDP mechanism, but they are not particles. So, but this blocking mechanism eventually creates the particle, and that's a very important aspect because now we can describe the time comes from this aspect. So I believe from the information theory, information physics, and development now is that the information comes from the superluminary. That information is the energy, the superluminary, and that energy is pumped into this hot PDP mechanism, which creates a particle which forms the mass of the particle. So the mass holds that speed of light constant via the vacuum phase. So we have this multi-phase created, and these photons are created continuously. So they form like condensate, super German condensates. So then you have flow of the, of this energy from the superluminar through vacuum to subluminar level, and this then create the entropy. And then we have this dynamic mechanism going on to create particles from other matter, and we have both organic and inorganic matter created eventually. I describe, as also as others, how the fusion occurs, and the fusion reaction goes on from the particles, because of the gravitonic effect that comes from the electromagnetism. So the magnetism forms the fundamental aspect that eventually creates the electromagnetism, and they're synergistically interacting. And so eventually they have the, brought out in the real reviewed publications recently, that they have both weak gravity and strong gravity aspects, and the weak gravity, and this related to string theory as well. So they are, the weak gravity brought out is like open strings, whereas the strong gravity is like a closed loop, the loop strings that is constrained. So they create the strong gravity aspect that's necessary to create the gluons and other aspects for the strong nuclear aspect. So the gravity, is a result of this space and time, and how exactly that's created is the detail that we are going through. And I believe that, the information that's feeding in adds energy into this quantitative mechanism, then creates the clock, which creates the time. Right? So the time is created within the entity, and now just each entity, which can be called eventually as particles, have certain clocks that characterize, and the ticking of the clock is different, depending, and it creates stratified energy levels. But they can now communicate with each other because fundamentally we analyze the Helmholtz composition in terms of a gradient, 0-point gradient, and also which is a rotation aspect. And the rotation aspect is a vortex action field. Again, now is remember the curve. So the gradient of the curve of the field now defines the interaction. And so between these clocks, which are now gravitationally connected, and the gravity field can a person believe that can go faster in speed of light. So this communication occurs between them. It's like the instinct, versus the thought. The thought process may be the light aspect, speed of light, whereas the instinct aspect may be the gravitational speed, which is faster, the speed of light. So this communication between these clocks or these particles will create sort of entanglement, and the quantum entanglement then creates accretion of these particles, and they come together and create a fusion reaction. For example, we know eventually the formation of the electron and positrons eventually creates protons and neutrons, and they have now interaction of the isotopic effect. For example, of hydrogen, deuterium, tritium, that we know is the fundamental mechanism in many other star formations. Creates the fusion reaction to form helium atoms, so on and so forth. So they build up atoms all the way to higher levels, and away from that, the stars. Now it creates cold zones, which we identify to be as planets, which may be created by asteroids and comets and things like that. So interaction is still something that is being studied, even with the satellites that's being sent at different locations and traveling, you know, in space with the various spacecrafts that has been launched. So they give you data about what's happening in the beginning of the universe, or how the information travels, how everything, you know, coming together, and believe that they could be alien things like that. So is the life on Earth unique, or are there other places where the life can exist? Because a life requires a Goldilocks zone, in special conditions to create life. So the Earth has a perfect you know, configuration to do that, and the constitution. So that's all coming together, so we can understand, we can go back to the fundamental mechanism that is the fundamentally unifying aspect. And that's the idea of that I want to develop. Eventually probably write a book on information physics, modeling quantum astronomy. So I think there, you know, we put together everything, you know, in the sense that to the level that mostly concentrating on my bothering with other all other scientists, for example, collaborating scientists. So that would constitute a deeper understanding of how magnetism and gravity are interlinked, and also the fact that electromagnetism eventually forms the basis for understanding gravity, as well as weak nuclear and strong nuclear components of the fields. And Christian also believes that, you know, if you transform everything into proper plane, that called I space, and from that I space theory, you can prove that the differences between the gravity and the magnetism or electromagnetism that we see is human artifact, and to be correct for that, they are exactly the same. So they seem to be working out. So it's a question of proper unitarization, and you know, also gauging that eventually shows the invariant aspects, invariant fields that are called the gauge, can be called the gauge fields. So the unitarizing as well as the you know, standardization or normalization of these fields, and that is being developed also. There's a gauge Maxwellian theory and so forth, so on and so forth. It shows the invariant aspects of the field. So if you put it on the proper platform, I think they will all unify. You'll see a unified effect field theory. So this is the eventual goal, and we are working towards that. And I believe that, you know, as a material scientist, I studied about the environmental materials interaction, and I think it's all coming together to that, because it's based on thermodynamics as well, high level thermodynamics. So the entity aspect is very important, because entity can be anything. Again, it's a generalization, but the specific aspects of the entity is a particle, it's an entity. Whereas environment, and we see superluminary phase, again, that's a specific aspect of the environment itself. So the environment can eventually, you know, occur in multi-phases. And this environment gives the energy to certain mechanism, micromechanism, that operates because of the rearrangement of the monopolar magnetic poles to the dipolar magnetic fields, which forms the whole that John is talking about. So the plenum and you know, this superluminary plenum polymer, then these interacting, it's going through this random dynamic process, like the dark energy aspect that creates the dark matter. So dark matter, dark energy are separate now, understood separately. Dark matter is for the expansion of the universe, and the dark matter constitutes how these various astro objects uh, are interacting, and the energy aspect of it, of the actual material aspect of the astro objects, are the one that constitutes the dark matter. So they are seen as separate, but I think their understanding of the overall aspect of the entity and the environment, the entropic, specifically entropic entity within energetic environment, we unify that and see how they are all part of a larger cosmic consciousness or existence. The conscience also depends, like I mentioned in one of my peer reviewed publications, that the consciousness itself that we have depends on the state of the clocks, right? Like I mentioned that the different particles are different clocks, and they communicate with each other, and they form like a communion or entanglement. So those create eventually the consciousness. So the organic aspects are closely interlinked with these mechanisms that will be going on. And we know the eternity that we call, maybe that's superlunar aspect. But the other distributions itself, discriminates itself by this mechanism because of the magnetic rearrangement. That may be the fundamental aspect that we are able to prove only theoretically, and I don't know whether ever we'll be able to peek into the real monopolar superluminal aspect, because they are so superluminal that there is no way to detect them, because the detectors themselves are limited by these aspects. So the information flow is the only one you can hope that they give some understanding of that. So I distinguish between information and the communication in that sense. And that's another area that's being developed. I believe the error signal analysis is one of the ways that you can understand that, because error signal created because of these mechanisms, they form a feedback circuit mechanism, and then we put the math. It's very similar to a diffusion equation of Fick's, which contains space and time, and we solve that, we get error function and error complementary functions. And then we readjust the equation within the error function, which contains x over square root of b times t. When you rearrange it for the information aspect, for the speed of light, because information is held at the speed of light for the real particles, then we see how they form the shapes, like the web, or how they form even the horizons, and also particle horizons, things like that. I think we will develop that geometry of it, of space and time, geometry of space and topology of time. I distinguish because geometry of space is probably four-dimensional, whereas the topology, is probably six-dimensional. There is things like Andrew Calabi, manifold. But this is now a virtual manifold. It's not a real manifold. It's a virtual manifold, and I believe that that virtual manifold versus the real manifold is something that we have to go into deeper understanding. I did describe from the transforms, and which contains all the transforms that we know, Fourier, all the way up to the Legendre transforms. all other transforms. By using them, convert everything to a scalar field and also the time aspect. So the constants are not, we are not worried about the constants, we are not worried about the mass or things like that. So that this is taken out using the transforms. So there are, and then we can describe the rotation. So there are three types of rotation aspects: like spin, rotation, as well as revolution. That describes all of the various dynamics aspects in terms of a point from the point physics. But then we have the cardinality or the linear translations and Emmanouil's distribution in the longitudinal and translation calculations as well. So one of them may be having limited by speed of light that corresponds to Christopher's tangential plane. And then we have the transverse aspects. So these two aspects and also other researchers that will be coming and presenting also will emphasize, highlight how they can exceed the speed of light. So within the realm of relativity itself, there is a possibility of proving reciprocal mobility, and that has been done. There are in literature papers available that has proved how that is very much there. One of the solutions to the Einstein equation. And that way we have a way to consolidate everything together, understand on a common platform how they all. So that's the whole the purpose of these projects that we have in all, and we have published many. Myself have published close to 40 or more of peer reviewed papers, and there are a lot more data and things are. Now coming to the data itself, so information is coming there. So information I distinguish from data. Data is created by the entity, right? So with the interaction, communication interaction, that creates the data. So data is more local, the information is more global. So the global information is coming as energy from the thing. The data is more entropic in that sense. So in terms of entropy and energy, we can say that information is more energetic, whereas data is more entropic. So that comes back to the thermodynamics, and many people, including Shannon, has described how entropy describes, for example, by noise and the energy by signal. So I myself analyze people into signal to noise aspects. So eventually, finally, they all come together in the signal and noise, because signal and noise are variants of each other. They have a common basis, because you can convert a noise to signal and a signal to noise by proper devising aspect. So that's the other aspect. So there is a mediation, like finite eigenpoles, or a mediation that's necessary. Like photon is a mediator to convert electron and then positron into a quark, for example, quarks, and also gluons and so on and so forth, quarks, antiquarks. So from the point of view of the particle physics also, we have a common way to connect them. So they all seem to come together, and I have put up how they are, how they describe different aspects of it. So they are like the pieces of puzzle or components of the whole assembly that we are talking about. So we can put together all that, and it seems to be coming together quite well. Again, I like the idea of energetic information, environment, and entropic entity part. So I think they describe the overall sense, what it is, and how that is created, how the entity is created in the superluminal environment is also the mechanism we identified as hot beating mechanism. So many of them, are to distinguish that they remain as conjectures or theory, and many of them has to be proved directly or indirectly the experimental determinations. And there are some analogies, things like that proves about them, and independently we can verify or prove theoretically by elimination processes and other aspects that's available in the mathematics and also the algorithm. And we have the IT aspect that it helps in what we call as the simulation that we have done already. So it connects to the bit and bytes of the aspects as well. And my matrix protocol, what I call is a communication operational matrix protocol, is an example how language and logic. So it's all a very exciting field, and we'll be continuing that. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we hope to see you all for launching our 2023-2024 platform, globalizing everything that we have onto Earth and beyond platform that we hope to develop in few years. That may be a necessity. And thank you very much, and we'll be seeing you soon. Thank you.